everybody. Come on in. So glad you are here. You could be any place else on a Sunday morning, but you are here with us. So thank you for spending this time with us. I want to shout out the people that are on because we want to let the people know who showed up if you were invited by someone else. And if you came on your own, thank you so much. Put in the chat where you are chiming in from. And if this is your very first time here, please put a 1 in the chat. But if you've been here before and you've been counting, please let us know the number if you know it, or just say, I'm back again. So let me shout out to the folks that are here. Put your name in the chat and let us know where you are chiming in from, because I know we just nosy like that. Hey, check it out. Oh my goodness. Royalty, Rich Rising family from the ATL is in the building. Welcome, Kim. So glad you are here. Talk about a supporter. Oh my goodness. She's been supporting us for the beginning and still keep on supporting us. And we so appreciate it. So thank you. Shout out to one of our #1 fans as well. Who else is out there? Let us know. We definitely are excited about our guest today because of the different things that they have been through that they're willing to share with us. And we are so appreciative of that as well. So, who else is out there? Let us know. We want to shout you out. Come on in. The weather is fine, definitely in here. And don't be shy. You can just put in where you're chiming in from, you know. Hey, all of us are from somewhere. We are all visiting, chiming in. So come on in. And we always have people behind the scenes working for us, or I shouldn't say working for us, but working with us and enjoying the things that we are doing as well. Because we love to share. We definitely love to share the financial part of, putting yourself in a better situation, and also to be able to put yourself in a better position financially, adding to your income. Why not invest in real estate? So we got all kinds of combinations, and sometimes we sprinkle a little personal development in there. You just never know, but we are always improving ourselves because, hey, we all are work in progress. Hey, Alvin from Cincinnati, Ohio, welcome. Who else is out there? Just let us know where you're chiming in from as well. Oh, Felicia. Hey, you know what? I'm going to say Florida because I'm not sure what WPB does. I am working on that. West Palm Beach, I'm a guess. I could be wrong. If I am, please let me know. Who else is out there? Let us know where you're chiming in from. We are definitely excited about the talents that we have within our group. People are always coming up with ideas, showing us who we are, what we do, and why we do it, and why we want to share with other people. So we definitely, oh, good, I got it right. Yay. So we have a video that we want to share with you. The video that you've been seeing is showing other investors out there in the community, but now we want to share our own video, homegrown made, that someone from our group created for us. And I'm telling you, feel free to dance along. Hey, Valerie from Nashville, Tennessee. I promise I will not do the accent. That's a no-no. So sit back and enjoy the video, and feel free to dance along to the music if you feel like it. I know you probably get that all the time, don't you, Valerie? People. far will you go to get the juice? Because it's definitely got power when you take action. So I'm going to introduce to you the Juice Crew, and then I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. So the Juice Crew consists of, drum roll, just kidding. We have Jerry, we got James, we got Bobby, we got myself, we got Taretha, we got Chauncey Gray. We got people behind the scenes that you just don't see, but they are putting it together. So, without further ado, oh my goodness, here we go. This is a special treat for us indeed. Today, this guest is someone who has truly transformed his life and career through determination, education, and a mindset shift. Yes, indeed. Meet a man who in 2008 was laid off during the economic downturn and found himself facing a tough reality. After months of searching for a new job, even accepting a position that paid 40% less than what he was making, he was struggling just to make ends meet. But instead of giving up, he found a solution through Renatas, a company that opened his eyes to the possibilities of becoming a business owner and building a future independent of the corporate world. Partnering with his twin brother, Paul, they dove into the world of real estate. 43 houses flipped and grew to owning 102 rental units. Oh my goodness. Their journey of learning and growth and mentorship led to financial freedom. By 2013, he was able to quit his job. Yes, and focus on the business full time. Today, he and his wife are living their dream, traveling around the North America in a camping trailer, while his brother and his wife are doing the same. His story is a testament to the power of education, persistence, and the right community to transform your life. Let's dove into his journey and hear how he went from struggling to thriving in the world of real estate. Without further ado, let's put our hands together and give a warm welcome to Patrick McCrimmon. Woo! Take it away, guys.
Big Pat, how you doing, man? How you doing? Good morning.
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good morning. Good,
Yeah,
good to see you.
it's an honor to be here, guys. It's an honor.
Yes, man. We are so thankful to have you here. Um, in a number of different ways, right? So can you give us a little bit of your background, like where you grew up at, like what was life like coming up family wise? Give us a little backstory, family wise.
Okay, sure. Okay, I was born in Aurora, Illinois, which is probably about it's a little over 20 miles from where I live now. And I was the sixth child of eight. I have a twin brother, of course. He's number seven, so I get to be the older one. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a housewife, and so money was a little bit tight. So my dream, I think, all the time growing up was to change that. So, I was taught the same thing as a lot of other people, go to school, get a good job. So I finished high school. My entire family worked factories or truck driving. So I went into the factories for about 4 years, found out I did not like that. So I started going to college part-time. 13 years later, I had a 4-year degree, but I'd been working in IT in computers. I got a computer programming job, thought I had made it, you know, thought everything was great, income was good, I was working, um, sitting in an office, not in a hot, sweaty factory. Did that for 30 years. And then in 2008, yeah, things changed. At
So
50
so you
years
had
old, life changes. Got laid off. I'd been laid off before, or companies went out of business and stuff. And then usually, 3 or 4 weeks and you're back working again. Well, this time 9 months went by and finally ended up taking that job that LaShawn was talking about for 60% or 40% less than what I was making. decided, I needed to do something else. I needed to look at some other alternative. I looked at buying a business. I looked at franchises. I looked at a couple different avenues. Saw real estate. Went to one of their meetings and realized that this was more than just building a business. This was more than just having a job. This was building freedom.
Mm.
You know, because like I say now, I spend this month's money. It comes again next month. I don't have to worry about it. People talk about evergreen in advertising and stuff. This is evergreen money. It comes in every month, no matter whether I work or not. And so it was building a very good retirement. So I'm actually working on that part now. Starting in the beginning of this year, I decided to be full-time retired and moved all the properties off into management. And now trying to figure this part out. It's like we bought the camper. We're getting ready to do some camping, go around the country, want to see all the national parks and kind of live the dream, the thing that you planned on all your life and say, okay, let's go do this.
So you had a very special, I guess what I want to say, a very special connection with St. Patrick's Day. What was that connection?
That was kind of the eye opener on St. Patrick's Day in 2008 is when Patrick got laid off and from that job. And then it said, okay, well, and I figured, hey, I'll get another job in just a little bit. Well, St. Patrick's Day turned out to be the best day of my life because it I walked into this opportunity and I looked at it and it's easy to say no, but yes, changed my world.
Nice. And how
Big
how
time.
how supportive was your family in this transition?
They thought I was nuts. Of course, they thought I was nuts for going to college too. But they thought I was nuts. And in real estate, everybody talks about all the nasty, disastrous things that happen to people who get into real estate and everything like that. Um, they don't really talk about what happens when you just walk up to the door and you pick up the $1,500 rent and you say, "Hey, I'll see you next month." That's not the one they talk about.
Right.
Right. Talk about the
Okay,
doom and
so yeah,
gloom.
they were. I started out fixing flipping houses. I was in the program for about 3 months, and I bought my first house to flip. It was kind of aggressive, but flipped that first house, and then my wife was like, "Well, maybe this is going to work." And so flipped the second house, and then I took her on a cruise. She was at my side then. I was no
Oh
longer nuts.
yeah.
So,
So,
bribery works. Bribery does work very well. I've taken her to England. I've taken her to Australia now in the last 15 years. And, we've done a lot of traveling around the country. So,
Well,
yeah.
obviously we don't quite have a student on that has over 102 units, right? so
right.
so my question is, you was already doing real estate before meeting up with this community, right? And so, to my knowledge, it took you 4 months to actually commit and kind of say, let me get that education. And what was that? What was that barrier for you?
Initially, I had my brother and I decided we needed some tax breaks. So we went out and bought 3 rental properties. And that was in 2007. Well, in 2008, I didn't need those tax breaks anymore. These were not performing properties. And we found out that basically we didn't know what we were doing. So went out checking out some education. I saw a little sign that said, real estate investor um, needs a mentor or needs
Seeks a
what
trainee.
was it? A trainee. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I'd make a great trainee. This is what I'm looking for. I need a mentor. And everybody tells you, get a mentor, learn something new. Um, so I was out looking for education. And I walked into the place and I wanted to make sure that they weren't just selling something and then go on to the next person, that they were actually using and the education really worked. Um, I'm called an executive mindset, which means that I want to see everything. I want to see how it works. I want to make sure that it works. And I will do analysis until I find out that it does. So I followed Bob Tierney, one of the lead people with Renatus in our group. I followed him around for about 4 months, just making sure. I asked him for paperwork. I asked him for proof of that he actually flipped houses. I asked him for proof that people had rentals. I was not, before I was going to put my money down, I was going to have proof. Well, he satisfied that proof. I put the money down and took off like a rocket. Like I said, we jumped right into the education. 3 months later, we had our first house and flipped that first house. And then we bought a second house right after that, flipped another house, then started buying rentals. And then it became our path was to flip houses, flip like 3 houses and buy a rental, flip 3 houses, buy a rental, flip 3 houses, buy a rental. Because we only had like 15 years till retirement. And so we couldn't like, oh yeah, we'll do one at a time. And, we're not young like you guys are.
So what Pat is saying, so Pat has a twin brother, and so Pat spent, you said 13 years in college and you got into IT. Then you spent maybe 30 years in IT, all for the employer to tell you, you're laid off. After 30 years of service, you were 50 years old at this time, which is rough, and now you're making 60% of what you once was. So that's a big shift in the way you had your bills and everything set up. What was that emotion? How did that feel that day that you got laid off, and what was going through your mind around, like, as far as like how I'm going to make it or stuff like that?
A lot of people don't know this. Even the people that do know me, I'm actually very religious. And so I said, God's got a new plan for me. Whenever I've changed jobs or something like that, I've always figured God had a better plan for me. And generally he did. Every time I would get laid off, I'd get a better job or a better situation or something else that would happen. So I figured, he's going to have a better plan for me. I don't know what's going to be the next step in my world, but I know it's going to be something better. Well, when I got the job that was 60% less, I'm like, how's this work? Or it's 40% less. How's this gonna work? I'm making about I have to pull about between $1,000 and $2,000 a month out of savings just to meet the bills. And so, it's like, but he said, then came the yellow sign. And I always look at it, it's like, God will lead you into a path, but it's your job to take that path. It's your job to call that sign. It's your job to make that change. Oh, it's like how many people are waiting for their ship to come in, but they're not even at the shore. Sometimes you have to swim out to that ship.
Right. So, got you. So, all right. Well, I like that you mentioned that, you had a plan on flipping 3 properties and then getting one rental property. And you said you knew that you had 15 years to retirement. Tell us how you came up with that plan and what was your end goal?
I mean, when we flipped the first house, we made about 50 grand on it. Flipped the second house, it pulled in about 35. So it was about $90,000 right there. Um, then most of the houses were between 20, 25, $30,000 a piece in income. So the first two were not normal. Okay. And so that made for a nice down payment, so you can make sure that they were cash flowing. So that just kind of became the philosophy of it. uh, we did everything through auctions. We allocated our properties because my brother was still working full time and I was working full time for the first 5 years. So the easiest way to get properties was auctions. At the time, there were a lot of auction properties. So we could just do the auction, pick up the property, get it, fix it, turn around, sell it, and then we'd go find a less expensive auction property. There's a class that Renatus has. It's called Investor ID. And, you know, found out what my ID is. My ID is blue collar housing. Uh, I'm not kind of where I came from. My family were factory workers and truck drivers and auto mechanics and things of that nature. So it was like, okay, that's back to my roots. So we started
Mhm.
buying in certain areas, we would buy the housing or the rentals. And then we kept flipping houses. We might be flipping houses in higher end areas and then turn around buy rentals in the areas that we like to be in. So that's how it started out, and that's how it worked. I mean, it started out as a plan of, let's flip houses so we can get cash to buy houses. And then about 4 or 5 years later, it started going into let's partner with people. And so instead of going out and having to flip so many houses, we started partnering. And when we started partnering, we ended up buying 70 more properties through partnering.
Woo, woo, through partnering, leverage. But I think the last part I was getting at was how much did you need to replace your income where you covered all your expenses through your rental properties, I guess.
By the time I retired in 2013, um, I took a lot of my expenses and moved them into the business. So a lot of the expenses, like my vehicle, I bought a truck inside the company. Well, I no longer had to pay for that truck. I took my phone and moved it in. This is tax strategies, the class. So I took my phone and I put it inside the company. I don't no longer have to pay that. I put a lot of other things that I was paying for and removed them for my expenses. So now that $2,000 less that I was making was all I had to replace. So I ended up replacing about between $4,000 and $5,000 a month in cash flow from the company was all I needed to repair, so I could make my mortgage payment and put food on my own table and pay my own general expenses. So it worked out real well. So I didn't have to make the over $10,000 I was making before I got laid off.
Mm. Wow. Okay. No, that definitely makes sense. Just to cover your back end so you can relax and not have to worry about punching a clock at a W-2, which, brother, I am working on, Pat. So when I do, we're gonna have a celebration. I
I did
swear.
celebrate, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I can agree.
I took
So,
I took the
all right. Well,
leaders.
with
I
that
took the
said,
leaders. Go ahead.
oh, okay. Well, looking back, what what did you wish you had known when you started your real estate journey?
What do I wish I would have known?
Yep, when you
Uh,
first started your real estate journey.
Probably, I think I would have taken a different path. I think I would have started partnering first instead of fix and flip. I found that it worked faster and I could allocate a whole lot more properties. And then I also picked up properties doing subject twos. I would have probably done a lot more of the creative uh, acquisition part of it, a little bit more of Chris Albin's classes, even though I did use them quite often, but
Mhm.
but go at it more from a rental arena. I mean, the fix and flip made it nice because it made them cash flow better. So I don't
Mm.
know how much of it I would have changed. I think that this was actually a very good, uh, I guess, a very good procedure, a very good. My brother and I wrote up a business plan when we first started. And the business plan included we're going to invest in this area. We're looking for this type of house when we go to flip. We're looking for this type of house when we look for rentals. We are, we're going to follow what the millionaire investors say to do. not try and figure it out ourselves. Now, that was key. We're both executives and we both think we know it all. So that one had to be in there. Follow the millionaire investors and do what they do. Um, and so that's kind of what we followed throughout the entire program as we built our processes. Now we assigned each other tasks because since there were two of us, we could actually get more done than just being all by yourself, which I definitely recommend is having a partner. Um, but those tasks also changed and overlapped. So we had the flexibility. If I'm supposed to be out there looking for the houses and he finds one, it's okay. You know, if I
Mhm.
need materials delivered to a fix and flip and he's got the time, he'll go do it.
Mhm.
So, have that flexibility. Don't be like, oh no, I am the person who finds houses, so I can't go pick up that water heater for you.
Mhm.
So the idea of the flexibility. He started out doing the fix and flips, and I was doing the person who was allocating the properties or finding the properties, and then turned around about 4 years later that I was the one finding the properties, or no, doing the fix and flips, and he was the one finding the properties.
Mhm.
And so things change, but we had that flexibility. But we also put that business plan together to make sure that we weren't looking all over the place. Sometime a deal would come in and it was like, nope, that's outside the price range. Nope, that's not in the area that we want to invest in. Nope,
Mhm.
that's not the type of fix and flip. We did light fix and flips. So I have flipped 43 houses and never moved a wall.
Mhm.
Nice.
Wow. That is interesting because some people think they have to, actually be the hammer. And that's what a lot of people do. They figure they can save money by going in and working on the houses themselves. So with that said, how come that wasn't in your game plan? I know you pretty handy at doing this, or why would you leverage somebody else's time in order for that to make that work for you?
Okay, if you listen to the millionaires, they tell you not to go in and do the work. All right. They tell you to do what you're good at. I am not a painter. I am not a drywaller. I was an IT guy. Okay. So, um, so when that was actually put into the business plan was we were going to use consultants or contractors to do the work so that we would sit at home or sit where at work and say, well, deliver paint in the morning and then go, hey, painter, go over there and paint. Hey, electrician, the lights are there, the parts are there that you need to put in. Go over there and put it in. Here's the code. They would go there, they would put it in, they would take care of it, and then go over there and make sure it was done. So it was faster. I mean, we were doing 3, 4, 5 houses a year. So yeah, it would be cheaper if I did it. It would also look terrible if I did it. So knowing your skill set, I I won't. I'm not going to not admit I'm fairly mechanical. I can put things in. I've put in faucets. I put in um, vanities. I've changed out toilets. I've done. If it's mechanical, I can do it. If it's artistic, like painting, if it's putting, fixing up, putting in drywall and making sure it's nice and smooth and things like that. No, that's not my thing. And
Mhm.
electricity, I'm scared of. It
Yeah,
bites.
yeah, it does. So one quick question. So was it difficult for you to find contractors and how did that process go?
I leaned a lot on the community and people I know who gave me referrals. And so then I would actually just talk to the referral. But periodically, yeah, I would just use a phone book, give somebody a call, say, hey, you know what? I need a plumber. I just bought a house. It's frozen. It's going to have multiple leaks in it. And so I just get a plumber out there and you just work the numbers into your business or into what the plan is for that house. So I bought a house. My last house that I flipped had 8 water leaks in it. where the pipes had frozen and cracked. So the plumber was there. He was there all day, finding all 8 of them,
Hey, I would imagine.
cutting holes in the walls, cutting things down, putting more and more holes in the walls. Yeah, he's like, "Do you mind if we cut a hole in the wall?" Yeah, that's fine. Painter's gonna fix it.
Hey, man, I would imagine there's not a scenario in which you haven't faced in 102 doors, right? It's like, it's what haven't you faced, right? And
Right.
I can tell you guys, me, myself personally, fix and flip, that just isn't my strategy, right? And so this is what that investor ID, as you were saying, Pat, in the beginning, that investor ID training kind of puts you in the mind perspective of what type of real estate you,
Right.
everybody on
Right.
Facebook, right? What you want to do and not, oh, I want to do it because Pat said nah, you're going to get in there and find a way to do it on your own. So, Pat, so you done built this empire, you like working, like not working hard, but, necessity wise, working hard, right? Putting in the work. Then you had a big scare. November comes. Tell us about that shift in which made you take a different perspective on your business.
My brother and I have been talking about retirement for a couple of years, or for about a year or so now, saying, okay, we got to like change our business plan around and say, okay, let's get ready to retire. So we kept talking about it, but we weren't doing anything with it. We weren't changing anything, and still was going out and working on. I was managing 31 units by myself, and then the rest of them were under management. But even when they're under management, there are certain things you want to do that kind of cut down on the cost of the work. If somebody says, hey, they got a loose step out there at that apartment building. I'm not going to send a handyman over there to connect up, put a screw in, you know. So I'll run out there and take care of it. So I was still doing some of the work, and I was still managing 31 properties and making sure that everything was taken care of. But we were talking about retirement. In November, just a couple days before Thanksgiving, I went to our regional um, awards, banquets, and stuff like that, and regional training. And the very next day, I had a heart attack. Now, my dad died of a heart attack, but he was in his 70s. I'm in my 60s. This was kind of a wake up call. I woke up 5 days later. Thank God that I was alive and knew I was going to change my world. And so, after getting out of the hospital and now going through rehab and stuff, in January of this year, I took those last 31 properties, moved them out to management. We bought the trailer and said, okay, it is now time to do what we built this for. Because you got to have you build something, but it's got a goal. My goal was not just to make money. My goal was to retire comfortably and go places and be able to do that kind of stuff. There's too many people. When you have tenants and everything, you see them. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, and they're barely able to afford groceries, let alone and rent to go with it. So mine was to retire comfortably and be able to do the dream. Now I would have liked to have retired about 5 years earlier, but I just didn't. But yeah, that was the dream. But yeah, that was a wake up call. I keep telling people, God grabbed a 2x4 and slapped me upside the head with it and said, hey, time to retire. So, and my brother and I decided, you know what? It is time to retire. So off went the properties. He has been on a 4 week vacation now. I took a 2 week vacation and just kind of traveled out west, went to what I called the national conference, and enjoyed the training out there, and then kind of moseyed my way back home with my wife and our dog,
Nice.
and just had a great time. Nice 2 week vacation. We've got another week planned for here in another month. We're going to take another week and just try out the camper, and then we're planning on going to Virginia later on and then who knows where.
Nice.
We're just going to go places, and this is what we built it for. It wasn't built just so that we can have, rentals. This is what it was built for, is to have the freedom. I mean, how many people can end up having a heart attack, be down for 4 weeks, and not have any ramifications from it?
The guy just
The insurance covered what it did. The rentals covered all the rest of the expenses.
What was the question that your buddy just asked you? Hey, you just took that vacation and what? What did he ask you? You
Oh
said,
yeah. He goes, how'd your wallet feel about that vacation? And I looked at him and I go, wasn't the first of the month a couple days ago? My wallet's fine.
nice. So my last question before we get to the classes and the instructors that you chose. Actually, I see you got an instructor watching you right now online on Facebook. Shout out. What would you say? Like, do you have a bucket list now? And what does giving back look like to Pat?
Yeah, I do have a bucket list, both in business wise as well as personal. Personal, it is to go see every national park in the United States with our camper. It is also to spoil my two grandchildren uh, terribly. One lives in Pittsburgh, my son and his wife, and the other one's here in Chicago. So that one's a little easier to spoil. But I had to go and do those things. On the business side is to work with people to help them get into their first properties. Uh, lead them toward this education. Say, this is life changing. This isn't just another education package that'll, give you 3 days worth of something. This is life changing. It gives you education for life. I mean, there's a class in here called Subject to, or, what is it? Seller financing, which um, is done by Brian Salt. And in that class, it talks about doing subject twos. I did my first subject to 5 years after I started. Now, if I would have had a 3-day class, I would not have remembered any of it because I ran into this subject to, this opportunity to pick it up that way. I just went back and watched the class. I still own it. I still owned it. When, let's see, when short-term rentals came out, I was like, this could be interesting. One of my houses went empty, and we had a community member who had done a couple short-term rentals or had been doing a couple of short-term rentals. So I partnered with him. Said, hey, I have a house. I don't know how to do short-term rentals. Why don't you come on over? We'll partner on this. He now does 13 short-term rentals out of my properties. Or no, he does 9 of them. And I have 4 done by somebody else in the community. So not only am I making money off the rental, they're making money off the property. And I love it.
Man,
I
Let,
love it.
let me say this, Jerry.
hey, I've been
I,
trying to get on with him.
what I just heard him say was Pat's success led him to owning properties, and then it helped another community members. So it's like one person's success trickle down to other people, and we all just grow and lift each other. That's what I like about this real estate business and being in business and just liking to help other people, like Pat is saying, helping them get into their first property. That's huge. Like that's huge because early on it's scary when you're doing something for the first time. So having somebody with a lot of experience like Pat, who's been around since 2008 doing this, like that's huge. So Jerry,
Well,
you got
I just had a guy this week who was asking me, hey, I've got this opportunity to buy these 2 houses. This is the kind of price that people want. I said, can you help me? I said, well, let's go and do some analysis on it. And we started talking about it. And he found out that, yeah, he could buy the 2 houses, but he'd be losing $2,000 a month. Best he could do. I said, yeah, I don't think you want to buy them. At least not at the price in which the person's asking for them.
Hey, we call that the deal of the decade. The deal that you
Right.
don't get, right? You don't want to
No, it's
jump in.
called red flags.
Yeah,
Red flags there.
yeah.
There you go.
all right. Can we show now? Can
That's
we
when you
start?
get Chris again.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
Chris is on 100th episode, so you 85. So 15 episodes, and we got Chris again.
Awesome.
All right, can we bring up his classes? And because Pat, man, you chose three great classes that's within our education that you took, and you said these classes was it. These were so valuable that I want to explain the three and how I was able to benefit from these classes. So just in a few seconds, we're going to bring up those classes, and you can explain to us and everybody watching online on Facebook and YouTube world right now, you know, how these classes have benefited you and your business and your life. All right, so here go the three classes right here you chose. Go ahead, Pat, just give us a brief description of each.
Okay, so deal of the decade with Chris Album. I mean, that is something that, it's like I look at a lot of properties and I look for what I have just kind of a criteria that I look at to see if it's even close to a deal. And part of it was what he was teaching was how to do a little bit of an elimination first and then find out which one is actually worth following up on. Because I came across houses, I've come across apartment buildings, I've come across, a lot of, and some of them, it's how you negotiate. But yeah, if you don't look at it, it's there. They're there. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's a bad time to buy properties." I bought 13 units, 9 units in the last 2 years, creatively, and they cash flow really nicely. They were great deals. So, and finding creative acquisitions. I mean, I walk up to people when they're selling something, and I use the creative acquisitions to try to buy it. I'll offer owner financing. I'll do, let's do subject to, let's do a couple, and also a cash buy, and then, and at different levels. But taking that creative acquisitions is always every time I find a property, it's like, okay, how could I buy this? It's not why can't I? It's how can I? You know, when you find the deal of the decade, how can I buy this? I mean, last year I spent 7 months trying to buy a 78 unit storage facility, but it fell apart. But I tried all the different creative acquisitions. I tried all kinds of different things. It could have been a good deal, but the owner finally decided, he's not going to be creative at all. And so it fell apart. First, he was open to it, and then he closed the doors. And so I couldn't find another way to do it. But like I said, I've used creative acquisitions. One of my, I'll tell you about a 5 unit that I picked up last year, no, a year and a half ago. Um, it was in really, really bad shape. So I went over and talked to him, and it's like, okay, I will buy this subject to, but I have to get it at this price, and I have to uh, be able to fix it up before I can pay for it. He said no. Okay, well, I want it at this price then, and I'll have to go borrow money. He said no. So I brought up a third one, and he said no. So I went over to one of my investor partners that I've bought other properties with. And I said, well, this is how I can actually structure this. And she goes, yes, I don't own that 5 unit. I bought it at a pretty good discount price. I put about $60,000 worth of repairs in it. It was in pretty bad shape. And it now cash flows at, let's see, what is it? It's about $4,000 a month or of rent that comes in. And it cost about 1,500 in expenses. So it's like $2,500 a month.
Yep, 25.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not a bad deal.
That
And
is,
if everybody else looked at it and said, "Oh, that's an awful property. Oh, you couldn't do that. Yeah. Oh, nobody's going to rent it from you." Yeah, they did.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. That some people make that on they don't make that on their job, and they work 40 hours a week.
I was going to say that I take that all day. And if you all you need is $5,000 in income, that's half of it right there. Just to quit your job, just that 1 5 unit.
Yeah, well, that's why I quit my job. I bought a 15-unit apartment building. So then I had 31 units, but that way I was comfortably quitting my job.
Hey, let me say this real fast too, because I want everybody to know this, especially beginning. It all started with just one. Yeah, you're gonna hear the number sound high up there. Pat's been real estate since 2008, given that. But remember, it just started with one. It started with him with one. All of us, it started with one. And then you just keep going, rinse and repeat. And then you look back after a few years from now and say, look what I've built.
Then my third class, when you had that up there, was fix and flip. Okay. Heather and Ben. There's the 2 days of fix and flip. I was an IT guy. I had no idea how to flip a house. I didn't know what the procedures were. I didn't know how you did it in sequence. I didn't know how, what are all the, there's just all the different pieces that have to flow together in order to flip this house. I mean, I had one time where I did the floors first. Don't ever do the floors first, because then you got to put down tarps and everything else to protect those floors. But the painter couldn't get in there, but the floor guy could. So it's like, oh yeah, I could get the floors done then. And I could still get it done in my 3-month time frame that I was planning. Yeah, don't do that. It took a while because now all of a sudden everybody's got to be very careful of the floors. Uh, but taking the fix and flip class, they taught me, okay, here's the sequence, here's what you're looking for. This is the type of properties. This is what a fix and flip is, and it is not a rehab. Like I said, I've flipped 43 houses and I have not moved a single wall. Okay. So, I mean, it's not a rehab. I don't do rehabs. I take out the cabinets and I put in new cabinets. If there's a 32-inch cabinet sitting there, there's a 32-inch cabinet that gets put in there. If there's a 28-inch cabinet there, a 28-inch cabinet gets put back in there. Uh, Minor, I might do some minor changes, but pretty much it's going to look the exact same way, just prettier. That way you could have it done in a month and a half, have it sold, gone in 3 to 4 months. And you
Nice.
get
Go
mad
ahead,
at people
Bobby.
that are doing
Take them away. Show them where they can go find out what Pat is talking about. Give it to them. Let's go.
That's what it is, bro. Man, make some noise for Big Pat McCrimmons, everybody.
Thank you.
He's bringing
Woo!
you the juice this morning. We appreciate it. And the gems you're dropping. So thank you very much. So everybody who is a guest on here, or even if it's not your first time on here, please get out your phones. We're about to go through the announcements of what is happening today and how you can continue plugging in with us. All right. So every Sunday, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, you want to be right here on The Juice Show. What is The Juice Show? If this is new to you and you just got invited by somebody else, this is where we get to interview and have a great conversation with different students that's in the community about how they started, where they're at, and what their plans are. And just so you can get to know that, these are regular people that you can do this too with the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people in the right community and with the right education. All right. So check this out, and get back with the person who invited you as well so they can get you on some of these calls so you can get more familiar with the community. All right. Because that's where it starts, the education and the community, they go together like peanut butter and jelly, buddy. So look forward to that. All right. Coming up with our very own Mr. Jerry Ruffin, 10:30 a.m. Central, 11:30 Eastern, right here. This is the introduction to real estate investing. All right. So all the classes and education that we received, this is where you're going to get that information on how to continue. All right. If you're brand new, don't think you're going to come here just to get this into the introduction and be able to do a deal, because that's not how it works. All right. This is where you get the information so you can continue to grow in real estate investing and know the proper procedures. Check out our practitioners and just get to know us a little bit better before you dive into it or make a decision. But this is where it starts: 10:30 a.m. Central, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. The introduction to real estate with our very own Mr. Jerry Ruffin, where he's going to be going through different things, who the community is, and what we provide, and how you can grow in real estate investing. All right. All right. Coming up also today, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, we have the mastermind trainings. All right. What is the mastermind trainings? This is where people who are investors have a lead and they go here and have a lot of eyes of investors to see if this is something that you want to continue with. All right. So they're going to ask how you found it, how you funded it, what are your exit strategies. All right. So if you have a lead, this is where you want to come and check out, how they run the numbers and what kind of questions you're going to be asked to see if this is something that you want to continue with, because it could be a bomb or it could be a dud. But either way, you have that training and have a better idea on how to assess different properties. All right. So if you're lucky, this is a kind of a private club sometimes, but if you're lucky, ask the person who got you here to this training to see if see if you can get to this. All right. All right. Because there's a lot of value in this and it will help you evaluate properties if that's where you feel like you're lacking at, or anything like that. So this will give you a better idea on how everything gets put together. All right. All right. Check us out on the Facebook. This is the Juice Show podcast page. Make sure you like, follow, and review us on Facebook. All right. So there's the link. All right. So check us out. If you got here late or if you want to see some past podcasts, this is where you want to do it. All right. So if you have any suggestions on who you would like to see on here, please let us know. Or if you have any suggestions on how we can make the show better, or just continuous likes and reviews, and just let us know how we're doing. This is where it's at. So make sure you come friend us, come check us out, stay active, and we'll follow up with you 100%. All right. And right now we have deals of the community, community. All right, this is where we celebrate the people that's actually putting in action and taking the classes and having progress. All right, so if you want to see your name in the bright lights on the Juice Show podcast page, make sure you let us know what you're doing, and we will put your name up here so we can celebrate you every Sunday and just see the progress of different people who's actually, actually doing something. And to think, this is 0.001% of the people that's actually doing something in the community. All right. So make sure you come check us out. This is where it's at. We appreciate you. And we'll let you guys take it away. Any more questions for Mr. Pat McCrimmons?
I don't see
Oh,
any in
no,
the chat on here. Are there any on Facebook, Jerry?
no, but we got a whole bunch of like likes and all of that stuff on Facebook. Shout out to all our Facebookers that's on checking us out. Like I said, man, we appreciate you coming on, Pat, sharing your story with us, man. Like I said, we don't often get a person on as dialed in and with this many doors and knowledge, and so man, we appreciate the time and effort that you invested into yourself, right? And to know that you are looking to give back in the form of sharing your success with other community members. Again, like that's I haven't ran into a community such as this one with all the people who are willing to help each other and give a helping hand out to who needs it, who's asking for it, right? So man, this been great, Pat. Thank you so much. Maybe we'll get your brother on too, because I know he got a story to tell. It is slightly different. So we'll get Paul on soon. But yeah, thank you for coming on and sharing your story, Pat, man. We appreciate it. Sure.
I
Yes,
want just
Pat.
to close with something. When I first started and I was looking at um, Renatus and looking at doing this education and stuff and looking at real estate, and I kept saying, what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if it doesn't work? Okay, what are my risks? What are all this? And then I talked to Bob Tierney, one of the leaders over here, and he comes up to me, he says, what happens if it does?
Wow.
And gave me a whole different perspective on this. It's like, yeah, what happens if it does? So
Mm.
always look at it. Don't always look at the negative side. Look at what happens if it does. What would your life be like five rentals from now at $400 a piece a month?
Mm.
Yeah.
That is a huge takeaway for you all. He just dropped a huge gem. What happens if it does? I wanted to say, like, Jerry, there are so many diamonds and hearts and clapping emojis and just hand praises that you are still here with us. And I am so glad that you are. And to have met you from years ago and to be able to still see your smiling face. I kid you not, when I see you two together, you and your brother, I'm like, oh boy, which one is which one is
Yeah.
Pat? But you
Trouble one
you
and trouble two.
but you did your due diligence. I mean, you kept plugging away for 4 months. You didn't jump in. You asked questions. You wanted proof, and that's what we give. Like we say, we give the juice, we give the proof. So I am so glad you were able to get on here and share your story and what a story you shared, and you're still doing it. I'm glad that you are traveling now. So thank you, Pat. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Pat, thank you so much. I was gonna definitely ask you for a takeaway. Is there anything else you want people to take away from today, or some things that you feel over your years of experience that you witnessed a lot that can help somebody, like some words of wisdom?
Part of it is the power of yes. It's a whole lot easier to say no to everything, but to say yes when you do some things that are uncomfortable. I am not comfortable being on this show, okay? But I said yes. I am not. It was like, okay, um, let's do real estate. Well, it would have been a whole lot easier to say no and just go back to doing my job. But instead, I said yes. And somebody brought me a 15-unit building. It's like, how do I do this? I can. I can figure this out. That's what the classes were for. Said yes. Got to quit my job. Bought the 56-unit building. I thought it was crazy signing a mortgage for 800,000. Try try signing one for over 2 million. Um, but it's like, okay, well, I know from the education who's going to pay for it. It's not me. It's the tenant. So say yes. Figured out. I said yes. So main thing is do your due diligence. Do, you know, but keep an open mind. This does work, and it is one of the easiest and best ways, and that a lot of people can change their future and change their world. I keep asking people, what would you do if you didn't have to work? Think
Woo!
about it.
Come
Dream
on,
about it.
that's a good
What would you
question.
do if you didn't
Oh
have to
my
work?
goodness. I love that one.
Dream. What would
Wow.
it be?
Mm.
Light it up in the chat. Everybody answer that question. What would you do if you didn't have to work? I know what I'd do. It'd be traveling just like Pat. I promise you. I'd be popping up in places you don't even know exist.
It's 10
Put
o'clock.
in the chat. What do you guys? What would you do? All right, so we getting to the top of the hour. Thank you for leaving with that, Pat. Man, today been a great show. You really helped a lot of people today, and I just love your story. Thank you for sharing all your experience with you, and I like that you easily accessible as well too. I know in Chicago, I think you were doing study groups to kind of help people. Maybe you're doing a buy and hold study group or something like that. But I like that Pat is accessible. If you guys join the community, you can hang around Pat. Pat wants to see you do your first deal, get your first door. He wants to see you be successful, right? And so, Pat, thank you for jumping on this morning and sharing us your words of wisdom and gems today. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been an honor. Go for the juice show. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Pat, thank you very much. This is a great interview, and everything you said, man, is just resonates with me personally. You know, being in the community, and every show, you know, is a great takeaway, and we have a lot of great people that's in the community, and that's just willing to help you and would like to see you do well. People don't get that a lot. Just like you said earlier, they think real estate is slimy. I heard people like, oh no, the worst people are in real estate investing. They just want your money. They're looking for the market to crash. They want this and that. I'm just thinking, man, what kind of experience do you have? Because everybody that I know, they want you to succeed and they're looking to help you. But that's because they had the same help themselves getting there. So you want to play that forward. You know, you want to help other people. You know, we celebrate each other, not just jealous or taking it down or thinking that they're just out for a quick money grab and taking advantage of people. That's not what this is. So that's what the wrongs I would love to correct. You know, so
Oh,
this
yeah.
is just another testament of that. So I appreciate you. So
There's other real estate investors bring me properties. And I've also taken properties to other real estate investors. Say,
mm,
here, I can't do this one, or it's outside my area, it's inside your area. Here.
Hey,
look
Angela
at that.
says, Angela Whitston says, we've been juiced. So you
That's
juiced
how we
them,
talk.
Pat. You juiced them, Pat.
Oh, they took
And
my
that
line.
makes
Okay. With that, I'm just gonna wrap it up just because of that. All right, you have been
Juice,
you.
juice, juice, juice.
juiced. Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.